Hi, I'm Dusty Moore with iCEV. Thank you for joining us for the Dual Credit, Dual Opportunities session. We are excited to have Dr. Tony Brannon and Mr. David Black from Murray State University as presenters for this session. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, and good day. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here and get started. We appreciate this opportunity to visit with you in this Dual Credit, Dual Opportunities conference. I am Tony Brannon. I'm Dean of the Hudson School of Agriculture, and we're joined today with Mr. David Black. And I always say I'll put coordinator by his name. This is a cooperative effort. We have a cooperation. I am the co, and Mr. Black is the operation. So we will set that up and use that as we go forward. We want to divide our presentation this morning into a few slides here. First, talk about the history of what we call the Racer Academy of Agriculture, which is our dual credit program. We want to talk about the contents of the program, the key aspects in putting together this dual credit program or a dual credit program, how we promoted and managed it, and then last but certainly not least, how iCEV has been instrumental in this process. And they've been our partner all along through this process. First, I want to give you a little bit of history about what we have come to know as the Murray State Racer Academy of Agriculture. Of course, we are the Racers. We are known for a great basketball program and a great agriculture program. So we combine the two into Racer Academy of Agriculture. This actually began as a high school bridge program in 2007. Dr. Jay Morgan, who is now president of Morehead State University, was a staff member, faculty member in our ag education, and he and I had an idea. And one day I was sitting in a dean's meeting, and our provost at the time, Gary Brockway, said, we need about 40 to 50 more students to hit the 10,000 student plateau. Does anybody have any innovative ideas of classes that we might put together to reach an additional clientele to get us to that 10,000 mark? Dr. Morgan and I had talked about a dual credit opportunity and about promoting this to high schools. And so we brainstormed a little bit. We actually put together a second half semester class, and we actually had a bet with the provost office. One of the administrative assistants there bet us that we couldn't get 15 students in it, and we ended up getting over 20. So it began with one class, and we were fortunate that it took off from there. The state of Kentucky had a video class that they had videotaped. They had brought professors from each university in to promote or in animal science, and they put together this video, and it was used for about 10 years and never updated. It was not what we would call virtual. It was static, and the content kind of become outdated. The people changed, and the state pulled that as an opportunity. So really, we've referred to it as it being a giant sucking sound in the realm of dual credit that was available at the time. So we replaced this video class, and indeed it was a little ahead of the dual credit wave. And we piloted it with a few schools that we thought would be successful, and then they began clamoring for more and more schools and more content. We rebranded it as the Racer Academy in 2010. The entire university's dual credit program is called Racer Academy. So we call ours the Racer Academy of Agriculture, and it's now 10 years old. What has it done for us? I think all you got to do is look at this slide. If you look at 2009, as we began to really and truly implement this, and look what's happened to our enrollment in agriculture programs at Murray State. We're now over 1,100. We've increased some 400 and some odd students in that time frame. And I firmly believe that the Racer Academy of Agriculture, the dual credit opportunity, and again, we filled that void, and we became the sole provider of dual credit opportunities in agriculture in Kentucky. Since then, there's been some join us, but we still serve the entire state with our Racer Academy of Agriculture. So what began as one course in AGR 199, we called it. It was a Contemporary Issues in Agriculture course, and it was actually a university studies approved course. And we rapidly expanded that with teacher input to where we wanted to have the teachers and the schools wanted a stable of classes, and we called that with the racers and the equine background. And so we developed it to a maximum of 8 courses and 23 credit hours that a student could take in agriculture. That was animal science, introduction to ag business, a field applications in ag class, plant science, horticulture science, introduction to veterinary science, agricultural leadership, and contemporary issues in agriculture. Combined with other courses that students could take in dual credit, we found that many students were now entering our program as sophomores, or some even maybe a little bit more. So we have just recently revised the program. We did a little, I guess, reining in, if you want to use the equine. We had to, with the leadership of our university, go from 8 courses down to 5. These are offered in tracks and in the curriculum, and we're going to offer a certificate if a student has all of these classes. And at this point, I'll let Mr. Black take over and talk about the contents of the program, and I'll share, continue to share the screen.
All right, so AGR 100, the animal science course, is our #1 course. And so when I try to promote these in high schools, the one thing I tell teachers is the fact that AGR 100 is your basic animal science course, but college level. It covers the 5 major species of livestock in the state of Kentucky. And that's one thing we all have in common, is that animal science is in every county in the state of Kentucky, and basically in our country, we share that common grounds in animal science. So that became very important, and teachers jumped on board. Students have an interest in animal science, and that's the one that we started first, I believe, with iCEV as well, is to develop that partnership and to decide how we could make that course even better. Because of that, last fall we had over 300 students enrolled in that course out of a little over 700, almost 50%. And in the spring, we had 225 in that course. I call it the bookend to AGR 100 is AGR 182, Introduction to Pre-Vet, also an iCEV course. And I promote that course as animal science on steroids. So if you like animal science and want more, AGR 182 is it. We have a lot of students here at Murray State that major in pre-vet. And when I go into high schools, I ask the question, how many of you want to be in pre-vet? And normally in every classroom, I'll get 3 to 10 students thinking about pre-vet. But they really don't know what pre-vet means. And so Intro to Pre-Vet is that great course to introduce them to the pre-vet major. And many times they make a decision, yes, I want to be a pre-vet major, or no, this is not for me, and they can pursue other animal science majors. And so I really like those 2 courses together. That also completes a pathway in the state of Kentucky for dual credit. And so they can take AGR 100. What we recommend is AGR 100 animal science in the fall semester, and then AGR 182 in the spring semester. And that way, take them back to back. They don't have to do that way, but that's what we recommend. The other pathway is a plant science pathway. AGR 140 plant science is also iCEV. That's one of our newer courses, but it's been brought on really strong. And in that course as well, we'll run somewhere over 100 students, 90 to 100 students per semester in plant science. Again, I recommend plant science in the fall, and then bookend that with AGR 160 horticultural science in the spring. We developed horticultural science, I think it was a 1.5 years ago, to complete that pathway again. but also thought about the local ag teacher. In the spring, they have a greenhouse and they have a plant sale. And they have a lot of FFA competition. What course could they offer that they could actually incorporate the greenhouse class into? And so we felt strongly that horticultural science was that course to promote their greenhouse, their plant cells, and allow for that integration to occur. Again, most schools will offer 140 in the fall and 160 in the spring. Again, we don't control that. And then the other course is actually my favorite course, AGR 199, which is Contemporary Issues in Ag. And that course, again, runs around 100 students per semester. It is our first course, and in my opinion, probably still one of our best courses, mainly because it is a writing intensive course. So our AGR 199 requires 4 research papers that we select the topic. They have to submit those online in a program called Turn It In to Check for Plagiarism. But it is truly an example of a college level course. And so most students that take that course at the end, they normally will tell me, I love that course because every module is a different subject. So it may be horse slaughter in this module and animal rights in the next module. And so when one module is over, they're tested over that, or they have a writing project over that, and then they move on to another subject. And so I really love contemporary issues in ag. For us here at Murray State, we require students to be a junior or senior in high school when taking the course. Research shows that they're more successful if they wait until their junior or senior year. We also require them to have a 3.0 GPA. And if they don't have a 3.0 GPA, if they rank in the upper 1/2 of their graduating class, they would still qualify. We do not require an ACT score. We did up to a couple years ago. That became very difficult because a lot of juniors have not taken the ACT yet. And so that became a stumbling block for us. And so we took that out and maintained the 3.0, and the students have remained successful having that 3.0. We do require that all students submit an application for admission, which is online from Murray State University. That gets them in our system, get them registered in our system so they have access to everything in MyGate. We also require them to submit a guidance council approval form and be signed by both the guidance counselor and the student. And basically what that does is make sure that everybody's on the same page. So the guidance counselor says this student is capable of completing the course and being successful, and the student understands what they're taking. So they sign the form. I also encourage schools to make sure that the ag teacher signs off on it. I never like to hear from an ag teacher that a student got in their class without their permission. We know that they need to be on board with that because they are our own site facilitator. So when it comes down to a student and they're having problems in a class or have a question about a subject matter, they can always contact me here at Murray State University or my TAs, but we also encourage them to start with the ag teacher. Ask that question to the ag teacher. They have a relationship that I don't have with them. And so with that relationship with the local ag teacher, they feel free to ask that question that they may think is silly. And so that frees them up. I do get a lot of questions from high school students. It has opened up, especially if I visit this school. So if we look at our next slide, basically we have been aligning these with industry certification. So AGR 100, like I said, was our basic livestock class. We revised it summer 2019 to make sure it aligned with NRC certification. That's a big push here in Kentucky and nationwide. 140, we did the same thing with. We aligned it with NRC cert so that it's when a student gets at the end of the course, they completed every module necessary to pass the NRC cert test. 160, like I said, we aligned it with Greenhouse. The next slide is 182. It is also NRC cert aligned. So when the students finish the course, either they or the school district pays for the license to take that test, and then they can log in and take that test. And with iCEV, the great thing is that because they completed the dual credit course, they can log in, call iCEV and log in, get a password, and have a proctor, so they don't have to go through all the module, all the quizzes again. They've already completed everything necessary for that. And like I said, 199 is contemporary issues. So what are the contemporary issues in ag in the current year? And we revised that course a couple of years ago. And then as far as our numbers go, you can look here for fall 19 and for spring 20. Like I said, 100 and 182, both iCEV courses are top courses. And then plant science will fight with ag issues as far as which one's is number one. They're basically dead even, but 140 is a top-notch course. And we're seeing our numbers grow in that course as more teachers see the importance. We have a end of the year assessment as well. And the testimonials of teachers offering animal science, pre-vet, plant science, is especially plant science, is that when their students complete plant science, they are more than likely going to be successful on the end of the year assessment. Plant science is our lowest passing end of the year assessment in the state of Kentucky. But with schools taking plant science or students taking plant science, that number jumps to over 80% successful from 30-something%. And so that's a big push as far as promotion. And then you can see horticulture science there as well.
As we talk about the other parts of our presentation today, we wanted to talk about the key aspects of putting together a dual credit program. And you got to understand that our program is specific to Murray State. Our program is specific to Kentucky, and not every state and every university is going to be that. But number one, be the same as we are. Number one, before you get into this, it requires the support of the university, all the way from the people delivering it to the president of the university. In many states, the dual credit opportunities are funded differently. And certainly in our state, the student pays 1/3 of the cost of tuition of the community college tuition rate. However, the state of Kentucky scholarshiped all of those. A student in CTE can take any student can take 2 college classes. A CTE student can take 2 additional students, classes under scholarship. So most of these are paid for by the state, but they're paid at a rate that is not equivalent to regular college tuition. So you have to manage that situation at the university level, because there are some that will see it as the glass being half empty instead of glass being half full. A commitment from the unit, certainly in our case, the Hudson School of Agriculture, it takes a full commitment. And I would say coordination, coordination, coordination. We started this program out with a part-time coordinator or ag ed professor. Then Dr. Morgan moved on to administration, and we hired Mr. Brandon Wilson, who was a part-time coordinator at Racer Academy, but also did other classes. And we very quickly realized that that wasn't going to work. So Mr. Black's been with us now a good while. And Mr. Black came to us with a distinguished career as a retired high school teacher and an exemplary teacher. We call him the distinguished practitioner. And he has coordinated this program full time. This is his job. But what some people don't realize is Mr. Black has more students than any other professor at Murray State because of his dual, he has over 700 students and about 125 or 100 to 125 teachers and about that many counselors that he deals with, times 2 in the number of parents that he deals with sometimes too. So coordination is important full-time. Certainly, for putting together a program, the need has to be there. If the need is not there, there's no sense in beating your head up against the wall. And imperative among that is a relationship, a good relationship with the State Department, with the teachers, and with the counselors in each of those cases. How to promote and manage, I'm going to turn this back to Mr. Black because he does that.
Yes. Promoting management is always important. I have a very open policy with my text me, call me, email me, because in order to promote this program, it requires individual visits. And so I normally try to visit at least 100 schools a year. And I love to visit every single school. So I stretch all the way from West Virginia border up to Ohio, in the northern part of Kentucky, and all the counties in between. And we have every school district in the state of Kentucky, except for I think 11 right now. And so they have all came on board, realizing that what we have here at Murray State is quality and is transferable to other universities, and their students have shown success. Like he said, it's also important to keep that line of communication open with guidance counselors. They are the ones that have to be that final signature and promotion. A lot of them just turn it over to the ag teacher and say, do what you want to do and I'll sign off on it, which is great, but it's not always that way. So emailing, I keep a current list of all guidance counselors in schools. And when I send out emails, I include them in the email so they know what's going on with dual credit. Our summer conference, which is virtual next week, I always put on workshops so that teachers, especially new teachers, know exactly what Racer Academy is. For a while, there was a void there because new teachers hadn't experienced it. But we're way beyond that now. Almost every new teacher in the state of Kentucky took dual credit in high school. So they know about Murray State and Racer Academy. First question they ask is, how can I get on board? How to get my students offered that opportunity? And so we offer those conferences or workshops. Basically, it's a question, a Q&A, a question answer. Give them the latest changes, latest process, and then word of mouth is the best for me. I'm always looking at a new school coming on board and they're asking me questions, and I look at the map of Kentucky and look around them and go, these are the schools around you, they're on board. I would encourage you to call and ask that ag teachers about what they do to make it successful. And then just the student teacher testimonials. We do not try to macromanage the local district. I believe it's important for each local ag teacher and their principal and guidance counselor to look at their situation and decide what is the best way to offer this. With the new year coming up and a lot of virtual learning, we're getting a lot of questions about that as well. But we want the local ag teacher to be the on-site facilitator. So they meet the requirements of the national standards to be the on-site facilitator and be able to teach that. We would love for every one of them to have a classroom full of Racer Academy students. And so they can actually be the teacher. But we also realize in a lot of small schools, that's not possible. So individual instruction can also occur. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide.
Yeah, certainly last but not least, we want to talk about the role of iCEV with our program. We've been a long-standing partner with those. We've known them and worked with them for a good long while. And as we began to get into Racer Academy, that first class we developed ourselves, but as we began to expand the program, we began to realize that it was a lot of work in putting these classes together. So the role of iCEV in our program has been instrumental. Basically, it prevented us from reinventing the wheel. With the history of iCEV, they put together a lot of curriculum and they actually put together these classes. As Mr. Black talked about, these are module based, and they're very simple to go through, but they're very complex in content. And they already had that content, many of which are enhanced with not just PowerPoints, because too often education becomes, as Dr. Heathcott taught Mr. Black and I, education becomes words going from an instructor's mouth to a student's paper without entering the mind of either. And we don't want that to happen. And this curriculum is supplemented with videos, with educational activities and other things. And all we had to do was really round off the rough edges and get it localized to Murray State and to our system. All these classes are delivered in our online campus platform, Canvas. So the transition to Canvas has been very smooth, and it's a way that we deliver those classes. Obviously, iCEV adds the industry aligned and certified. I believe the state of Kentucky actually offers as many certifications through iCEV as any other state, and certainly we promoted that. And they had existing coursework that was already at the collegiate level, not at the high school level, but at the collegiate level that I was aware of for some very instrumental and some very well-respected campuses in agriculture across the nation. And we were able to bring this level of instruction to our campus and to our students through the dual credit. Most of all, and if I could highlight or asterisk one, the dedicated, professional, and passionate staff at iCEV. Our local contact I've known for a long time, Mr. Lonnie Johnson. Lonnie is a great representative of this program and has been a good liaison between us and the very capable and competent staff led by Mr. Dusty Moore there at iCEV. All we have to do if we have a problem is call, and we get an answer and we get a problem solved. And they've been great to work with, and even helped us put together a virtual FFA field day this year because it was our 69th and we didn't want to miss it. And they helped us put that together. So obviously it's video and activity enhanced, cheaper than a textbook is the way I say it. We have a financial arrangement with them in delivering these classes. That's very, when you add it up, it's very costly, but when you divide it by a student, it's not. And it has exposed these teachers to the iCEV platform to improve their overall educational resource availability. Many of them have gone on and subscribed to this so that they can bring that type of level of instruction across the curriculum in their ag program. So Racer Academy is key to what we do here at Murray State. It's well known across the state and across this region, and our administration supports it. And we're certainly glad to share the success of that with you today. And thank you, Mr. Moore, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Brannon and Mr. Black. Audience participants, if you will, please join us for a live Q&A using the link below. Don't forget to enter the session completion code to receive your points and professional development credit.